Hello, today I'm going to show you how to do a running stitch. You can see just here. So all you need really is a piece of material. So that could be a pillowcase, or as you can see here I've just chopped up a fitted sheet, or a pair of jeans would be good, or something from an old t-shirt or a shirt, just whatever you have lying around the house. If you have a hole in something, you could chop it up and use it. And the thread that you can use, you can either use just an ordinary spool of thread, or the embroidery thread is also lovely to use. If you have any of the coloured thread, that's also really nice to use. So for the running stitch, you can use an embroidery hoop to stretch out your material, as I have here if you have one, and that stretches it out nicely. Or if you want to, for the running stitch, it's actually easier probably to use the material just as it is, because you can bend the material and it's easier to do your stitches. So you bring the needle up through on the back of your work, just with a little knot in behind. And for a running stitch, you're just putting the needle in and out of the fabric. Just to create a little stitch. You can make them as long as you want, or as small, short as you want. But for a nice neat stitch, if you can try to have the stitch length the same as the length in between the stitch, and that gives you a nice neat finish. This is a lovely stitch to do with the children as well. If you're sitting at home and you're with the children, and if they're looking for really a life skill to have, doing a little bit of sewing on a button perhaps, or any little projects, this is a lovely stitch to start with them. And then just go in and out. And if you want to, you can go in and out a few times. If you want to make it a little bit quicker, you can just go in and out with your needle. In and out, just a few times, and then just pull it through. And that means you're doing the stitch a little bit quicker and creating a nice little line. So you can use this stitch for all sorts of purposes, but I'm just going to show you a little project that you could do if you want, maybe with the children, or if you're sitting at home and you want something to do with bits of fabric. So this is a piece of applique where you're applying one fabric onto the other. So to do this, I've just got a little bit of material here. I'm going to, for creating the heart shape, you just fold it in half. And then I'm just going to cut around the rounded part, so you come up, round the round part for a little heart. You can draw it on the fabric if you want, or you can just come up and round, and then just come to a point at the other end. And hopefully when you open this out, you'll get a little heart shape ready to go for your applique. Okay, now you can just hold it down, or if you have pins, it's really a lot handier if you pin it down. That means the material won't move quite as much. You can keep it in one place when you're working on it. Okay, so again, for the running stitch, you can just come up in one little area and just carry on round. So you're really attaching one fabric onto the other. Just work your way right the way around to create the effect, just like this one. I've just gone all the way around there. But I was thinking, if you're at home with the kids, they might like to add some decoration also to little hearts. So you could do a heart shape, you could do a flower, you could do circles, just anything they want to do. Because I suppose in a way the stitches are a little bit like mark making, where you're drawing with the stitch, and so they can create patterns and create some lovely effects just by maybe drawing something simple on their fabric and then just going around it with the little running stitches, or some of the other stitches that I can show you. So I thought maybe also, why not show them how to sew on a button at the same time? So we'll just bring this round to the back. So this is another little skill. So they're decorating their heart or their little project, but really they're learning a life skill of how to sew on a button. So they can position the button just in wherever you would like to have it, so just in the middle here. So you're just bringing the thread up through the fabric, up through one hole, down through the next, tricky part is just finding the hole again. Just bring it right up through the hole again, pull it through and down through the next, and right on down. So that if you go over that a few times, that means that the button is sewed on nice and securely. So if you go over quite a few times, just up through one hole and down through the other one, and that means it's adding a lovely decoration, but also it's giving a little skill, so if buttons come off something in the future, they might be able to sew them back on again. So that's one way to use the running stitch as a decorative stitch. And I just wanted to show you as well, if you're wanting to create interesting effects with the running stitch. Now I've just done a running stitch all the way along here, but what we can do is we can do an interlaced running stitch. So I'm just going to knot the thread here. So we just bring it in through from the back. Okay. So I've done my running stitch all the way along here. If I just bring the thread up through the material at the back, we're going to do an interlaced running stitch. So what that means is that we're going to go through the stitch, not through the material, but just through the stitch. So I'm going to go through the bottom of the stitch, and then I'm going to feed it through the top of the stitch. So you're creating an interlaced effect. So just try not to go through the material, just through the top of the stitch and down through the bottom. So it creates a nice little pattern. So if you're maybe doing an edge on a piece of work, this is a lovely way to decorate it. And maybe using a contrasting thread, using a different colour, will give a lovely decorative effect as well. Now if you want, you can keep on going to the end, or we could pretend we're going to the end and then come all the way back again. So you can either have just a little sort of waved effect, or if you want to, you can give a sort of almost a little chain sort of effect here. Now I'm not pulling the thread very tight, just letting it be quite loose, so you get a really nice sort of interlocked effect. So the running stitch is really versatile. You can do it in straight lines, or you can do it in circles, and whatever shape you want. And it's a lovely one to try and have a little bit of fun with. So you can see here, it's even building up just a little sheet, I suppose, of different stitches. That's a good way to practice. I'll maybe show you some other stitches on another video, but there's a running stitch. You can go into circles, or you can go into lines and create some different effects with your stitches. Okay, thank you. Bye bye.